Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Dr. Khutso Madubanya, a change strategist, author, and speaker who helps leaders and teams navigate disruption with less fear, more clarity, and deeper trust in their own judgment. Having lived and worked across 8 countries, her work is rooted in both lived experience and deep insight into what really happens when life shifts, when identity, expectation, and direction no longer feels stable. She's the creator of P.I.V.O.T method, a practical framework designed to help people steady themselves in moments of uncertainty and move forward with confidence, not from panic, but from clarity. Dr. Kutso, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Sekani.
All right. So yes, I want you to take us back, right, to your 20s. What did change look like for you during that period of your life?
Oh my goodness. Very exciting. I have
Right.
always been one of those eternal optimists. And I've always been extremely outgoing and driven. So let's just say I was a lot more sure of myself then than I am now in my 50s. Because when you are entering your adulthood, and it's a great thing, you want to enter it with confidence, right? um
Right.
but part of why your podcast stood out for me is I wish I'd had the ear and the interest to listen to
Mm,
other people who've been on the other side of 20, to kind of
mm,
hear what they had to share about how it went for them, because back then
mm.
I thought I knew it all. um And I made some mistakes, but it's okay.
Right.
It's a very exciting time when you're arriving into your own. You're finally leaving your parents' nest, and maybe you even have your first degree, or you're getting your first job, and maybe you meet somebody you like, and you're studying your life. It's a very exciting time. It was very exciting for me, and that's when I did most of my globetrotting. I wanted to see the world. So I packed up, I left South Africa, and I globetrotted, went to different countries till I got tired. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Right. Wow. So, I'm going to say you had so many experiences in your 20s, right? Of which some of them were good, and also, like you said, you wish you had opportunities like this, or rather, you wish you listened to podcasts like this. But I'm
Yep.
glad that you're finally here, so you could, share some insights and knowledge with us, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want
No,
us to talk
I'm
about
here
the
so I can
right.
learn. I mean, no one's going to talk other than you and me, but I'd love to hear how people in their 20s are doing these days.
Right.
So,
Okay, yeah, we're doing a whole lot, just so you know. All right, so
I'm
I want us to
sure.
talk about right,
Yeah.
the human side of change, right? So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
focus on the human side of change. So what do most people get wrong about how we experience change internally?
I think many of us, we look at change outside our bodies, and we react to the environment outside our bodies,
Hmm.
and try to stabilize the world outside our bodies instead of
Hmm.
looking within first. Um, Somebody, you might know this quote, something about how when I was younger I wanted to change the world, and then as I get older I just want to change myself first, because you realize change
Right.
really starts with you, from within, before you can expect the world to shift in any way. um
Right.
yeah, I would say just that that's the one big shift for me, being a little bit older, just realizing You could run and chase and try to push and shove and move things around. There's a lot of joy in that. There's a lot of um, flexing of muscles and self actualization you can attain from doing all of that. But it gets exhausting after a while
Mm,
because there's too much, especially in this day and age, right? There's AI, there's technology, there's just way, 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 way too much, too many shifts and too much change that maybe didn't happen 30 years ago when I was in my
mm,
20s. So
mm.
yeah, just that internal focus, I would say, is a mistake that we
Mm.
tend to make. The
All right.
external focus rather than internal, rather.
Mm. Okay, right. Talking about change still, right? I would love for you to, explain to us what actually happens psychologically when we feel, overwhelmed during change.
First and foremost, we I want to nuance this because I've been talking to somebody, a good friend of mine who's my age, about what the work I do. I speak a lot about change and looking inward, and one of the questions that has come up, and I'll get to your question very shortly, Sakani. One of the questions I've been asking myself, every Sunday I do these mini podcasts or mini recordings where I share my thoughts and encourage a word of encouragement. And I always go back to, do we interpret change differently when we're younger, like when we're in our 20s versus at my age? And I think the answer is no. We
Mm,
do all have the exact same responses to change, except where we put our energies can
mm,
be different. When you're younger, I mean, I keep saying to folks, I don't know. I talk a lot about do less, do less. You couldn't pay me to work harder. In fact, I will pay you
mm.
not to work hard. That's my mantra.
Wow.
Seriously. But that's the exact opposite way that I lived through my 20s. I mean, I was just the go-getter. I was the doer it all. I wanted to do it all and, carry it all and extremely driven. And I realized there was value in that at that time in life. There's a lot of building to be done. There's a lot of finding of oneself, right? You're kind of just trying to figure out who you are.
Mm,
Um, but the fundamental, our human fundamental reaction, I mean, response to change is the same regardless of age. And that is we freeze. We panic, fight or flight. We perceive change as a threat, especially if it's unexpected change, Sakani. I'm not talking
right.
about, you're going to get married or you want a scholarship or anything joyful, anything that you worked hard it finally manifests or anything positive. Right. So when I tend to talk about change, I talk about disruptive, unwelcome, that change that leaves you feeling, it totally disarms you. Like it removes the rug from underneath you. You know what I'm talking about, right, Sakani? The negative kind of change?
Right. Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So that kind of change is what destabilizes our sense of safety, our sense of identity, uh, our meaning, and also importantly, our sense of control. So I
Mm,
said that's why it feels like there's a rug that got pulled from underneath you.
mm,
And that's just what it does. It just attacks, well, attacks. That's how we
mm,
experience it, and then it becomes very important what we do once one has experienced the shock.
wow. Mm.
But it's
So,
a human
I like
reaction.
right, exactly. So, I like that you said it's important what we do once we experience that shock, right? So it just shows
Yeah.
that, people tend to react, to, some certain kind of change, right? Or should I say a particular situation. So how can people now start avoiding reacting impulsively, right? Impulsively when everything feels unstable?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question, and that's the heart of my work.
Mm,
Whereas it's natural for us to want to be reactive, right? We want to fight. We want to, if you're anything like me, you get busy, very, very busy. And
mm,
that what I teach through my framework pivot, which is really an acronym for 5 things you can do, which will enable you to move to respond to change with more ease. First thing you do is avoid that impulse to want to get busy, to react, right? And you do that by pausing. Just do nothing.
mm,
So Sekani, next time somebody tells you, oh, you lost a job, rather than start calling them expletives and start sending out job applications and start calling everybody in the world, just sit with it. Do nothing. Sit with it. Just sit
mm.
with the news for a few minutes.
Right.
Just sit with the news and do nothing. And there's a reason for that.
Mm,
By doing nothing, you're cutting off that fight or flight that we spend the first 5 minutes talking about, right? That
right.
natural reactivity that tries to protect us. So you cut that because blood goes to your extremity, to your hands and feet in times of shock. You want to run. If you cut
Mm,
it, you give it time to you give blood time to return to your brain so you can think clearer, right? So sometimes it takes a few minutes, can even be a few days. And when it's really major shock, it can even be a few months. And there's really no shame in taking what time you need for that. And so that is P in my letter, in my framework pivot. And then that's another way, another intervention you can do for yourself.
mm,
Just keep everything in context. I stands for introspect. And here you're
mm,
introspecting on your identity, what this
mm,
change means in terms of who you are and who you're becoming. Because part of what
mm,
I learned, Sakani, is that we resist change or we react in a adverse in an adverse. What's the word I'm looking for? Not adverse. We push against change
mm,
because it threatens who we think we are. I'll give you an
mm,
example, a quick one, Connie. I had moved to the US and I moved from South Africa, blah, blah, blah. I lost a job. I ended up taking on a job that was far more junior than
mm,
anything I had done prior, right? At least it was 30 years junior. My
mm,
supervisor was old enough to be my child, really.
mm,
And I had to take that job at the time because I needed the job. I didn't have a support structure. I had 3 kids to feed and blah and blah and blah. I needed the job. And it paid
mm,
well, except I had to swallow my pride and realize, Khutso, you are no longer, this big ass doctor from wherever you came from doing all these wonderful things, running your own company, teaching at universities. You're none of that here. And it's okay. It's okay.
mm,
It really doesn't matter. People don't know you here and they don't even have to know who you were before you came here. And most importantly, this job does not define who you are or your
mm,
capabilities. The minute I
okay.
set that free, the minute I detached from that identity of Kutso, the full one with all these credentials, I felt so much more peace, Sekani. The job became a lot easier to adapt to. So that is
Mm,
I. And then V, it stands for what I call vector. By vector, I remind my audiences, you've got this. You already have what you
mm,
need to build the new life that change is calling you to. Because part of what I learned over the years is we resist change. We make change painful for ourselves because we're just so overwhelmed by, oh my God, I have so much I have to learn still, right?
mm,
You're thrown into this new, let's say you graduated from college, right? Now you're thrown
mm,
into this
right.
job. You have no idea where to start. It's like, oh my God, you're no longer the valedictorian or the one with the honors in your class coming out first. Now you're at the bottom of the totem pole. and you don't know how to do any of what you're going to get paid to do, because you can learn on the job. So the reminder for V is just, hey, you already have everything you need to learn this new skill. If you can count, and all of us can at this stage, right? If you can read, you can use those basic skills to build on whatever is being required of you that is new and looks insurmountable. Okay, just the thought of it. Just remember, you got this, right? That's V. And O stands for overcome. We overcome the fear of making mistakes, what I call the suck. Overcome the suck. Overcome sucking. Understand that learning a new skill comes with making mistakes. Forgive yourself right now as we speak, Sekani. In this conversation today, already forgive yourself. Just know you're gonna make mistakes, and realize, life is not all that serious. So what? No one's gonna remember your mistakes for the rest of your life or their lives. This too shall pass. So what if people made fun of you for a minute or two? In my younger days, especially, oh my God, I would be mortified thinking people for generations are going to remember Khutso made a mistake, or Khutso said this, and oh my God, she made such a fool of herself. But people move on with their lives. People don't care as much as we think they do. That's one thing I really learned as I got older. People don't care about your life as much as you think they do. And once you make that realization, it really frees you up to lean into discomfort, to lean into whatever uncertainty lies ahead. And then T, that's the last letter for pivot. It stands for travel forward. And by that, I remind my audiences, listen, it does you no good to keep looking back. Travel forward, commit to the new path ahead. Whatever change is presenting to you, commit to making it work through that change. Don't start looking back and think, oh, Khutso, but you were an economist for the South African government. Oh, but Khutso, you didn't have kids before now, and you were 10 pounds lighter, and you were the teacher's pet in grade school. None of that matters. What matters is the life in front of you right now. And if you spend all your energies, focus all your energies building this new challenging life ahead of you, you are being very efficient in your usage of energy, because looking back really splits your energy. You end up draining yourself of the very scarce resource of your own bandwidth, right? Imagine you're like a train, you're moving forward and backwards at the same time. What happens? It doesn't move. So that's that in a nutshell. The 5 ways, the 5 tips that I can share with folks on how they can navigate change in a way that won't drain them, or in a way that makes it a little bit easier for them to move with. Did that make sense?
It does, definitely. Right. So, I was taking notes, right, while you were saying it. And
Oh,
right, I was. It was pretty interesting. I was like, you know what? I have to take notes because these are really important, framework or
oh,
method
thank
that would actually guard one's life, right, in order to, navigate change in a
yeah.
very interesting way where you don't have to be so, I don't want to use the word traumatized because you're about to
Oh,
change and
but,
stuff
but,
like
but
that.
you're right, though. You're right, Sakani. Traumatize is the word, because we
Right.
can make it very, very painful for ourselves. We can.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
Traumatized, you're not
Exactly.
even exaggerating.
Hmm. All right. So the word that stood out for me
Yeah.
was the O, overcoming, and you said you have to forgive yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That one stood out because a whole lot of young adults right now, they do not understand that it's okay to make mistakes, right? They make that mistake, they make it a part of their identity, a part of
Mm-hmm.
themselves, and it's so difficult for them to, move on from that mistakes, right?
Right,
So
right,
it's
right.
important that people need to know that you have to forgive yourselves. As humans, We are all
Yeah.
bound to make mistakes. Nobody is
Yeah.
perfect. Everyone has
Yeah.
made mistakes. Even the president has made a mistake one way or another in his life, right? So we
That's
have to
true.
understand that. Yeah, we have to understand life is not it's not a bed of roses, and
No.
neither does and there's no there's a word for it. There's no map to life, right?
No.
Everybody is living it however it comes. So whenever
Right.
you make a mistake, just understand that you have to forgive yourself, right? So that stood out
Yes.
for me, I would say.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Right.
And you know what? This is equally important for me to emphasize in relation to the O. Just finding
Mm,
humor in life. I know I'm a bit
mm,
of the serious kind, you know, in everything you
right.
said, which I think you said so beautifully. Also, remember, life is not so serious.
Mm,
It's not all that serious. I
exactly.
hate to say we're all going to die one day. Let's have fun.
Yeah,
It's
sadly,
not
it's
all that
true, right?
serious. Have a bit of humor.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, let's not take life too seriously, honestly. It's just I mean, have fun, live your life. If you ever
Yeah.
find yourself in a place where um you have to change, just try and adapt. And that's where the T in your framework comes in, right?
Mm.
Travel forward. Just try
Yeah.
to, adapt to this new path and try to
Hmm.
make it work for you, whatever situation you find yourself. Try to
Yeah.
make it work, right? Instead of crashing out.
Yes.
I'm saying that way. Right. So
Yes.
yes, thank you so much, Dr. Khutso. This has been amazing, I must say.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Right. So yeah, I want us to talk about, the real world application. Right. So in all your framework, right, what pattern have you noticed in people, or what framework do you think people struggle with amongst this method?
Mm, that's such a good question. I'll say every presentation I've ever given, um,
Hmm.
just about everybody tells me they struggle with a pause, and yet it stands out for them. The first step, the first letter P.
Hmm.
Because when you're in shock, truly, the last thing you want to do is do nothing. Right? And
Right.
yet everybody says, man, if I just taken the time to pause and regrouped, I probably would have made a different decision.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'd say pause is probably one that I've heard the most. And I know it's the hardest for me. Remember, I wrote this, and I have a book, my book that outlines pivot, the framework in depth, is launching in a few days. It's coming out in a few days. It's called Dancing with Change. So I've spent
Hmm.
hours and years writing out, thinking about
Hmm.
this methodology and testing it in real life. But I need the exact same medicine that I'm preaching. So
Hmm.
I can tell you, for me personally, a pause is something I have to be very disciplined about, be very intentional about, because you receive news. The last thing you want to do, as I said, is do nothing. Yeah. Oh, let me give you a really good one, Sakani. And I don't know what kind of
Right.
personality you are. If if you're like a go-getter, very, very outgoing,
Right.
like what we call strong personalities, those people who
Right.
are high achievers who have to do it right and, get straight A's and all of that. I'm one of those, so confession,
Wow.
and have always been. So,
Okay.
so change is especially hard for us, the
Hmm.
leaders, the ones that everybody's relying on, the ones that can carry everything and do everything, right?
Hmm.
And the
Right.
example I want to give you is when a few months ago I got news. I used to have a day job before I started doing this full time. A couple of months ago, I got news from my then employer. Woke up, went to work, got to work. I was told, as of this minute, you don't have a job anymore because they just can't keep me. The economy is bad, blah, blah, blah. And this is 2 weeks ago. I mean, the book, I already wrote the book by then. I've already been teaching this framework. The one, as soon as I hear the news, of course, my brain goes in my mouth and my stomach goes in my ears. You know that. You know
Mm.
that really
Right.
that really state of oh unrattledness. You've been really, really unrattled. And then
Right.
I think, okay, great. I'm gonna start sending out applications. Look, I have a free day now. Because it happened, they let me go around 12. They're like, oh, you don't have to work the rest of the day. I can get online and let's fix this. Nobody fires me. Or I'm not gonna be sick. So I said, and then I thought to myself, oh, whoa, 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 Miss Thing. Let's just pause. Let's do nothing. You've been telling the whole world to pause, and that's the last thing you're doing.
Mm.
And so I did. I I forced myself to sit in my chair, not get up and get water or anything, just sit in my chair. And I looked outside
Okay.
and I realized, oh my God, Sekani, I had never seen it was snowing outside. I realized I'd never seen snow during work hours because I
Wow.
always look at my computer screen.
Mm.
And I was like, wow, this is
Mm.
interesting. What happens when I step outside this identity as this? I was in marketing, right? As this marketer, it's a whole world opens up. And I don't have to panic right now. I don't have to panic. I can wait. I can give myself some grace to just process. And that helped a lot. It really anchored me a lot that day. So that's a long story with Paul.
Right. It's so, it's actually so relatable, right? And mentioning that pausing is one of the parts that people often struggle with. Personally,
Yeah.
I think that's one framework I would also struggle with because I'm
Yeah.
more of a panicker. But I panic a
Oh, yeah.
lot. Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I
Yeah.
do
You and
panic a
me.
whole lot.
Oh, yeah. You
So,
and
right.
me.
Yeah, so whenever I'm, probably facing something that requires me panicking, I have a friend that usually tell me, Joy, breathe.
Yeah.
Breathe. Joy, it's not that deep. It's
Yeah.
not always as it seems, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I don't know if it happens for just me. My brain tends to, makes even little things seem so big, right? Like, oh my
Oh,
God, this
yes.
is gonna kill
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
It is
No,
not, right? So,
yeah. Yeah.
right.
You're right. And your brain does want to assume the worst because your brain is trying to
Yes,
protect you, right? And now it could be
right.
something not, as big as we always make it a lot worse. It always gets magnified. Suddenly, oh,
Mm.
the world is gonna end and somebody's gonna get hit by a truck, and oh my God, now what's gonna oh my God, it's always a lot worse than we always think it's a lot worse than it really is in that state. You're right.
Right. So whenever we feel that way, the best thing is to just pause, right? Just
Mhm.
calm, take a deep breath. Let's,
Yeah,
calmness wash over you. And that way you can think more rationally rather than
yeah,
acting or reacting emotionally. So yes,
right.
right. So thank you so much, Dr. Kutso. This has been an amazing conversation, I must say. And yeah, I just want you to talk to someone out there because this podcast is for young adults, right? That are trying to, just navigate life and get the necessary clarity that they need, right? So
Yeah.
for someone in their 20s who feels lost or overwhelmed by change right now, what would you want them to understand?
Um, I hope it sticks, and I know it's gonna sound very cliche, but it's my
Hmm.
truth. This too shall pass.
Right.
This too shall pass. That's the beauty with change. It happens all the
Hmm.
time. That's why it's called change, right? It's inevitable. It comes at all times. So life has ebbs and flows. This challenging period will end. And one day you're going to look back and think, whoa, Phew, what was that? Right? And you will
Right.
have picked up so much wisdom from whatever that challenging experience teaches you. But
Mm,
nothing is permanent. I know it feels like it's never going to end, but it will end. It's going to end.
mm,
That's just how life is. Nothing stays the same. Change is the only constant,
mm.
as some philosopher said, the Greek philosopher. Change is the only
Right.
constant. So,
Mm,
where even good change changes, right? We just wish
right.
when we're going through a sweet period, we want to hold on to it and make sure it doesn't go away. Well, guess what? Even that is fleeting. Even that goes.
Right.
So we might as well learn to dance with change. And pivot is
Mm,
what, by applying pivot, I found that you're able, when I say dance, I mean go through change with a little more ease so it's not so painful, right? You respond to
mm,
it like a dance rather than a wrestle.
mm,
So it, to me, it's so important to just have whatever tools. It doesn't have to be pivot for you. Listen, these are my, that is my experience, that what it has taught me. You may find
mm,
something else that works for you, that helps you make friends with change. Make friends
mm.
with it because it's here to stay. We're here. It's not going away, Sekani.
Right.
We are here to experience change, good and bad. So let's not
Mm,
be too self-condemning when it
mm,
comes to negative change and think, oh my God, I know it feels like it's never going to end, but it is going to end. It will end. And you're going to come out on
mm.
the other side of it.
Exactly.
So that would be
Wow.
my one piece of advice.
Right. Okay. So yes, thank you so much, Dr. Kutso. I must say this has been amazing. And I believe that, podcasts like this, once it gets to the right ears, that there's people who needs to hear it, it's really going to change lives, right? So yeah, thank you so much. And
Oh,
finally,
no, go ahead. Finally.
all right. Okay. Yeah. So I want us to move to the final segment. It's called the rapid fire segment. So do you
Okay.
want to say anything before we move to that segment?
No, no, you go right ahead. I think I
All
was just
right.
gonna thank you for hosting this. It's a very important and interesting podcast you're hosting.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Kunso. All right. So yeah, the rapid fire segments. Yeah. I was gonna say something I just remembered. Right. So starting now, what is one word that defines change?
Constant.
Constant. Wow. Right, that's actually true. Even in economics, they say change is constant, right? So,
Or inevitable. Yeah. Yeah.
right. Okay, so what is the biggest mistake people make during uncertainty?
Reacting too quickly.
Hmm. Wow. Okay.
Reacting too quickly.
Hmm. Clarity or confidence, which comes first?
Definitely clarity.
Hmm. Okay.
Definitely.
What
You
is
cannot have confidence if you don't have clarity.
so clarity comes first, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so what is one mindset shift that changes everything?
Oh, um, hmm, that's a tough one. That changes everything.
Everything.
It's okay.
Hmm.
It's okay.
Hmm.
Quite literally, it's okay. Just understanding you're okay, life is okay, you're okay. It's
You.
okay. You don't have to panic. Um, you're okay. You're not dying. You're okay.
Right. And there's
Just
this word
remember.
they say. Yeah, there's this word people say, right? Um, it gets better, right? It
Mm,
gets better.
yeah,
And, right.
it does.
And it,
Yeah.
yes, and a guest I had today, right? He also said this. He said, as long as there's life, there's hope.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just know we'll be fine. And like you also said, this too shall pass. Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, we would
Mm-hmm.
be fine. And finally, what is one thing people should stop doing during change?
Punishing themselves.
Hmm.
We can be so hard on ourselves because we
Hmm.
expect ourselves to be able to do certain things. Don't forget to enjoy life, even when it's hard. Stop punishing yourself.
Hmm. Stop punishing yourself. Right. Okay.
Mm.
Yes. I'm just trying to think why you say things like this. I'm just trying to,
And by that, Sekani, let me yeah, I'm sorry, I'm being cryptic in my book, in my author brain. By that I mean, we make decisions that are really hard, that make life hard for ourselves,
Hmm.
that take joy out of life. For example, um, going back to that simple example I gave you with, instead of sitting and after I got laid off, right? Instead of sitting
Right.
and giving myself permission to do nothing and just regroup
Hmm.
and just soothe my nervous system, what do
Hmm.
I want to do? I want to get busy and stress and push and push and push. Because I don't know about you, but I've been trained to work hard.
Right.
If you we I come from the school of thought where to get out of a challenge you have to work very very hard and sacrifice, this whole instant gratification thing. You make sure you sacrifice that, and I get
Hmm.
that. I get there's a lot of value in being able to delay gratification and that, but there's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of damage that we do to ourselves by making decisions that go against our own well-being.
Hmm.
You work till 2 in the morning, your body tells you, oh listen, I'm tired, you need to go for a walk. You're like, no, I made myself a goal to send 100 applications today. That's punishing yourself. You need to go to
Oh.
the bathroom. No, I'm gonna go after I've done 20 reps. Why?
Hmm.
Go to the bathroom. It's small little conversations. And I don't know if it's generational or not, but I come from that school of thought where no pain, no gain.
Hmm.
And
No
that can be
pain.
very destructive,
Hmm. No
where you
pain,
completely
no gain.
override what is good for you
Hmm.
in sacrifice of the future when all you have is now.
Hmm.
Did that make sense?
Yes, it does, definitely. Right,
Okay.
okay. Yeah, this is completely off topic, right? But I'm just gonna say it. You remind you
Yeah.
remind me of my former HR. She's also South African, right? Her name is
Oh,
Miss Lynette, right? Actually, Dr. Lynette, because she has a PhD in
uh-huh.
I think Oxford, right? Yeah, Oxford
Oh,
University. Right, you remind
uh-huh.
me of her. She's so lovely. I love her
Oh,
so much. Right.
oh, I'm glad. I think
Yeah,
where I come from, there are a whole bunch of us like that.
right.
So,
Honestly, like she just when she sees people, she just sees the good in you. Not many people have that attribute, right? She just believes like, oh, you have a whole lot of potential. I think you should
yeah,
pursue your goals. She's always
yeah.
encouraging people. She made my workplace so lovely, right? So when you speak,
Oh, yeah.
when you speak and try to, encourage me, it just reminds me of her. And I love people like you, honestly, I must say. Thank you,
Oh,
Dr. Kutso.
oh my God, Sekani, I'm gonna have to take you out for a virtual coffee. so
Oh,
we can enjoy each other. Because I'm enjoying you
right.
too. So there, we're even.
Oh, thank you. All right, I would love that. Thank you. Yes, okay. All right. So, where can listeners get to just learn more about you and also connect with you?
Of course. Yeah. My website is dancewithchange.com. That's one word, dancewithchange.com. And as I said, I actually have a couple of books out. One I released late last year. This one speaks to strong personalities, Sekani. People like you and me, right?
Right.
Who can do it all. Yeah, just kind of,
Exactly.
talking some sense to those of us who are so used to working so hard that we punish ourselves in the process, right?
Mm,
And then my
right.
second book, as I said, Dancing with Change, which really lays out the whole pivot method, walks you step by step. You can apply it in various areas of your life, whether you're a student, whether you're getting out of a relationship, whether you're a leader at work, whether all sorts of applications. That one is also as I said, is coming out this week, and it's also on my website. So if people want to learn more about anything and everything I do, dancewithchange.com is my website, or my email is info@dancewithchange.com. So
All
that's it.
right.
Just dance
Wow.
with change. All you got to remember.
Right, dance with change, exactly.
One
So
word.
yes, and right, and this is to the listeners, right? If you want a simple, practical way to navigate change with more clarity and confidence, you can also access Dr. Khutso free Pivot research guide online. And yes, as usual, it is Dance with Change. So just check that out. Right.
Yes.
So yeah. Thank you, Dr. Kutso. This has been amazing. And I would say after this, I'm gonna reach out because yeah, I would love to, keep on hanging out with you. You've been
Oh my
amazing.
goodness, girl, we're doing this. We're doing this.
Right.
Thank you so much, Sekani. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Kutso. And yes, to my listeners, thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, make sure to share to someone who you think might need this. And also subscribe so you don't miss out on new episode. Once again, thank you, Dr. Kutso, and do have a beautiful day ahead of you.
Oh, you too, Sekani. Ditto, as they say.
Right.
All right. Bye bye for now.